John Strykermeyer, nicknamed Tilt. My time of service in Vietnam was from April 68 to April 69. Then my second tour duty was October 69 to April 70.
My name is Seth Robertson. I went to Vietnam in December 1967 and came to the 189th Assault Helicopter Company in March of 1968. I arrived in Vietnam a little after my 18th birthday.
The numbers for Vietnam are very interesting. There are 3.2 million Americans that served in Vietnam. That includes Navy personnel that were offshore during the Vietnam War. Out of that, approximately 20,000 served in Special Forces. Out of that group, there's 2,000 or so that were assigned to SOG during that era in the Secret War. And the numbers, there are between 400 to 600 who ran recon across the fence into Laos, Cambodia, or North Vietnam.
We hadn't heard too much about it, and when we did the mission, usually the crew, the pilots were briefed. We weren't part of that briefing. We were pretty much told we were on our own if we get shot down. When I went over in 68, they took away our dog tags and ID, and pretty much later on in the year, they didn't bother anymore.
So my team that disappears, they disappear. There's nobody from North Vietnam to say, hey, we captured Staff Sergeant Glenn Lane and Sergeant Ron Owen on May 22nd, 1968. They were taken to the Louis POW camp, and from there they were transferred. We don't get that kind of after-action report.
The teams that went in usually weren't going in to fight. They were going in to gather intelligence. But sometimes they get inserted into some areas that were bad. And sometimes they get right on the ground and asked to be extracted right away. Most of the time, if they were being chased and they overran their primary pickup zone, they usually had an alternate zone. And sometimes, if they didn't have a zone, we had to drop ropes in. We used various different rigs. I can't remember. They were Stables, Maguires, and Swiss seats. And we'd drop 4 ropes down for them to pull them out with. And sometimes we used aluminum ladders. I think they were 60-foot ladders, and they just hook on with D-rings, and out we'd go. And sometimes people got hurt. They'd get caught in the branches of the trees and stuff, broken arms or ripped off limbs and things like that. And there were times we couldn't get in during the monsoon season to get them out because the cloud cover and the rain and everything wouldn't allow the helicopters to come in. These teams would be on the run for 2 or 3 days or more.
Well, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, I think the official thinks we had Ho Chi Minh Trail Complex. And at the time, we knew it in a limited context of where we were, that it was a continuing moving process. The people that worked it were dedicated. The saying of Mao Tse-Tung's Army of Ants.
There were trails everywhere. You thought you saw something and there'd be a branch off and another branch off, and it was just continuous. They would take and tie the trees over the trail so you couldn't even see them from the air. And they were masters at camouflage. That's why we were going in there, to try and interdict it and stop it, but it's a pretty hopeless battle. I mean, you'd go in and see parts of the trail bombed, and you'd come back the next day and it was all fixed.
During the firefight, we threw some hand grenades to the south. We heard people moving to the south. Threw the hand grenades, and it began to burn. All of the elephant grass around us, so to the south and then to the east, it spread, and it began to come up the mountain. And at one point, there was a surrealistic moment where on top of the hill, you could look through the heat and the waves of heat that burned in the hot fire, and you could see the NVA standing down there, kind of like looking at us. And the fire's coming up, and the King pilot who put us in, he came in at the top. He flew down the hill kind of sideways, and then landed. And when he came in, I could see it was him, the veteran pilot, Captain Tuon, who I'd known. He pulled us out several other times. And he landed, we get on, and by now the smoke, the fire was really intense. The prop wars literally held back the entire fire and everything for that moment. When we got on the plane to the helicopter, as soon as he lifted off with the H-34, whoosh, just became a configuration. It just came over the fire.
There was more traffic. There was more traffic. To give you an example, one time when I was in Slicks, we went in to insert a team, and We flew over the Ho Chi Minh Trail and I counted over 60 trucks. And with all the firepower we had, we could have taken out that whole convoy. But that wasn't our mission. We're just in there to gather intelligence and drop the team off. So some of the things just didn't make sense to me, but of course, I wasn't in charge of things, so.